The notification sound from my phone cut through the silence of my home office like a blade. 1:47 a.m. Now, Monica's location showed still at office for the 6th consecutive night this week. I stared at the glowing screen, my fingers drumming against the mahogany desk I'd assembled myself 3 years ago when we'd bought this house together. Back when together actually meant something. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. My name is Julian Vane, and I'm a 32-year-old cybersecurity analyst who specializes in protecting other people's secrets. The irony wasn't lost on me that I'd been blind to the biggest security breach happening right under my nose. I dialed Monica's number. Ring, 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 voicemail. Hey, it's Monica Thorne. I'm probably helping someone find their perfect career match. Leave a message and I'll call you back when I can change your life, too. The corporate recruiter cheerfulness in her recorded voice made my stomach turn. I hung up and immediately called again. Second attempt, third, fourth. Each ring felt like a small betrayal echoing through our empty house. Monica and I had been married for 4 years. She was 30, blonde, sharp-featured, with a kind of calculated beauty that opened doors in corporate America. She'd built her career at Pinnacle Recruiting by being ruthlessly efficient at matching companies with talent. Lately, it seemed she'd been matching herself with late-night opportunities that didn't include her husband. 5th call, 6th call, my jaw clenched tighter with each unanswered ring. The changes had started 3 months ago. Monica began claiming her workload had doubled. New clients, she said. High-profile placements that required her personal attention well past normal business hours. She'd reject my FaceTime calls, sending quick texts about being in deep focus or client confidential meetings. Her tone became sharp and dismissive whenever I offered to pick her up or bring her dinner. I'm a professional, Julian, she'd snap. I don't need you hovering over me like I'm some helpless intern. But it wasn't just the late nights. Monica had started buying new perfume, something expensive and musky that she'd never worn before. She'd installed a privacy screen on her phone and started keeping it face down during our increasingly rare conversations. When I'd suggest weekend plans, she'd claim exhaustion, but then I'd catch her scrolling through social media with the energy of someone who'd slept 10 hours. The 7th call connected. Julian? Monica's voice was breathy, strained. I'm really busy right now, lots of work to catch up on. In the background, clear as day, I heard a man laughing. Not the polite chuckle of a colleague passing in a hallway. This was intimate laughter, comfortable, familiar. Your family already knows about your work, I said, my voice steady despite the rage building in my chest. The hidden camera footage is in the chat. The silence that followed was deafening. Then Monica's voice, suddenly sharp and panicked. What? Julian, what are you talking about? What footage? What chat? But I'd already hung up. 3 hours earlier, I'd been sitting in the same chair, staring at the smart home security hub I'd installed 6 months ago. The system was my own design, military-grade encryption, motion sensors, and cameras that could be accessed remotely through my work laptop. I'd pitched it to Monica as protection against break-ins, but honestly, I'd installed it because I loved the technology. Every room was monitored except the bedrooms and bathrooms. Privacy where it mattered, security everywhere else. The home office camera had a perfect view of my desk, the bookshelf, and the small seating area where Monica claimed to do her overflow work when she occasionally brought projects home. Except Monica hadn't been home in 3 weeks. I'd pulled up the camera feed out of curiosity more than suspicion. Maybe she'd left something behind that explained her recent coldness. What I saw instead shattered 4 years of marriage in 30 seconds. Monica was there, all right, but she wasn't alone. The man with her was tall, dark-haired, wearing an expensive suit that screamed corporate climber. They were on my leather couch, the one Monica and I had picked out together at a furniture store in Portland, arguing playfully about whether brown or black would look better against the hardwood floors. But they weren't just sitting there. Monica was straddling him, her blouse unbuttoned, her skirt hiked up around her waist. His hands were tangled in her hair as she moved against him with the kind of passion she hadn't shown me in months. The audio was crystal clear through my high-end microphones. God, I can't believe Julian installed cameras everywhere, the man said between kisses. What kind of paranoid freak does that? Monica laughed, that same intimate laugh I just heard over the phone. He thinks he's so smart with all his security systems. If he only knew I've been using his precious office for this. Doesn't he ever check the feeds? Julian? Please. He's too buried in his work to notice anything. I could probably bring you here every night and he'd never figure it out. They continued their conversation, mocking my cluelessness and discussing how easy it was to deceive me. Monica described me as predictable and boring, while her companion, who she called Silas, made jokes about my Boy Scout personality. The betrayal cut deeper than I'd expected. It wasn't just the physical cheating, it was the casual cruelty, the way they laughed at my trust like it was some kind of character flaw. I'd sat there for 2 hours, watching them desecrate my home office, listening to them plan their next rendezvous. When they finally left, Monica kissing Silas goodbye at the front door like a suburban housewife sending her husband off to work, I began planning my response. Revenge, I realized, was a dish best served over fiber optic cable. I'd clipped exactly 60 seconds of the most damning footage. Not the explicit parts. I wasn't interested in creating pornography. Instead, I'd captured the conversation where Monica and Silas discussed their ongoing affair and mocked my trust. Their faces were clearly visible, their voices unmistakable, their contempt for me obvious to anyone watching. The family Sunday dinner group chat had been Monica's idea. Every week, her parents, 2 siblings, and various aunts and uncles would share updates about their lives. Monica's family was conservative, religious, and old-fashioned about marriage. Her father, Robert Thorne, was a retired bank manager who'd raised his children with strict moral codes. Her mother, Patricia, taught Sunday school and had strong opinions about the sanctity of marriage vows. Monica had always been the golden child, successful career, stable marriage, beautiful home. She posted regularly in the family chat, sharing photos of our vacations, our anniversary dinners, our seemingly perfect life together. At 1:50 a.m., I uploaded the video file to the group chat with a simple message. Monica's been working very hard lately. Thought the family should see her dedication to her career. Within minutes, my phone exploded with notifications. Monica's mother was the first to respond. "Julian, what is this? I don't understand what I'm watching." Then her father. "Is this some kind of joke? This better not be what it looks like." Monica's younger brother, David. "Holy shit, Monica. Mom and Dad are going to ruin you." Her sister, Rachel. "I can't believe you would do this to Julian. And in your own house? Are you insane?" The messages kept coming, each one more horrified than the last. Monica's family wasn't just disappointed, they were disgusted. In their world, adultery wasn't just a personal failing, it was a moral catastrophe that reflected on the entire family's values. I changed all the remote access codes to our smart home system, effectively locking Monica out of the house. Then I packed her clothes, toiletries, and personal items into 3 suitcases and left them on the front porch with a note. "Your new living arrangements are between you and Silas. The locks have been changed. Don't contact me directly. Communicate through lawyers if necessary." By 2:30 a.m., Monica's phone was buzzing nonstop. I could track her location through our shared phone plan. She was still at Pinnacle Recruiting's office building, probably trying to figure out how her perfect double life had collapsed in the span of 30 minutes. My phone rang. Monica, calling back frantically. I let it go to voicemail. The next morning, I arrived at my office at Quantum Security Solutions with a sense of grim satisfaction. My colleagues, Danny Rodriguez and Mark Chen, immediately noticed my mood. "You look like someone who just solved the world's most complicated puzzle," Danny observed, settling into her desk across from mine. She was 29, sharp-witted, and had an uncanny ability to read people's emotions. "Either you cracked that government contract we've been chasing, or something major happened in your personal life." Mark looked up from his array of monitors. "Yeah, at 26, he was our resident tech wizard, capable of digital magic that bordered on the supernatural. Julian's got that look people get when they've just won a chess match in 4 moves. What's the story?" I'd worked with Danny and Mark for 3 years. They knew about Monica's recent behavior, her late nights and cold shoulder treatment. They'd both expressed concern about how withdrawn I'd become, how I'd been throwing myself into work to avoid thinking about my failing marriage. "Monica's been having an affair," I said simply. "I caught her on our home security system. Last night I shared the evidence with her family." Danny's coffee mug stopped halfway to her lips. "Jesus, Julian, are you okay?" "Better than okay," I replied, pulling up my workstation. "I'm free." Mark wheeled his chair over to my desk. "Wait, back up. You caught her on camera? In your house?" I gave them the condensed version. Monica's lies about working late, the discovery of her affair with Silas, the family group chat revelation. Both Danny and Mark listened with the focused attention they usually reserved for complex security protocols. "Who's the guy?" Danny asked. "Someone named Silas. Works with her at Pinnacle Recruiting. Expensive suit, arrogant attitude, thinks I'm an idiot for trusting my wife." Mark's fingers were already flying across his keyboard. "Silas. Pinnacle Recruiting. Got him. Silas Reeve, Senior Account Manager. LinkedIn shows he's been with the company for 2 years. Before that, he was at a firm in Boston that went under after some kind of client scandal. Interesting, I murmured. Danny leaned forward. Please tell me you're not planning to do anything stupid, like legally stupid. Nothing illegal, I assured her. But Monica and Silas seem to think I'm too boring and predictable to fight back. I'd hate to disappoint them by proving them right. My phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. Julian, this is Taylor, Monica's friend. We need to talk. Meet me at Murphy's Bar on Congress Street at 6 p.m. It's important. I showed the message to Danny and Mark. That's a trap, Danny said immediately. Monica's trying to get information about your next move. Mark nodded. Classic manipulation tactic. Send a concerned friend to gather intelligence. Then let's give them some intelligence to gather, I said, already formulating a plan. Mark, can you set up a discreet recording app on my phone? Something that won't be obvious if Taylor tries to look at it? Give me 10 minutes, Mark replied, holding out his hand for my device. Murphy's Bar was exactly the kind of place where secrets got traded over whiskey and pretzel mix. Dimly lit, filled with worn leather booths and the kind of clientele that minded their own business. I arrived at 5:55 p.m. and spotted Taylor immediately. She was the only person in the place who looked like she'd rather be at a wine bar in downtown Portland. Taylor Brennan was Monica's closest friend and biggest enabler. 29, red-haired, with the kind of social climbing ambition that made her constantly aware of who could help her career and who was extra weight. She worked in marketing for a tech startup, and had always treated me with polite condescension, like I was a necessary accessory to Monica's life rather than an actual person. Julian, she said, standing up from a corner booth, thank you for coming. I wasn't sure you would. I'm curious to hear what Monica's spokesperson has to say, I replied, sliding into the seat across from her. Taylor's perfectly applied makeup couldn't hide the stress in her eyes. I'm not here as Monica's friend. I'm here because what happened last night affects more people than just you and her. Explain. She took a long sip of her Cosmopolitan before answering. Monica called me at 3 a.m, hysterical. Her family has completely cut her off. Her father hung up on her, her mother won't answer her calls, and her siblings are posting Bible verses about adultery on Facebook. That's unfortunate, I said, my voice flat. Julian, you destroyed her entire support system in one night. Her family was everything to her? Her family was everything to her? I corrected. Her marriage was apparently just a convenient cover story. Taylor leaned forward, lowering her voice. Look, I know Monica screwed up. The affair was wrong, and the way she talked about you was cruel. But did you have to involve her parents? They're talking about not inviting her to Christmas, not acknowledging her at family gatherings. You've made her a pariah. The recording app Mark had installed was capturing every word. I kept my expression neutral, encouraging Taylor to keep talking. How long have you known about the affair? I asked. Taylor's hesitation told me everything. I suspected something was going on. Monica had been different lately, happier, but also more secretive. How long, Taylor? 6 months, she admitted. Maybe longer. She never told me directly, but there were signs. New clothes, expensive dinners she couldn't explain, that glow people get when they're having exciting closeness. 6 months. Monica had been lying to me for half a year while I'd been planning our summer vacation, discussing whether we should refinance the house, talking about maybe starting a family next year. Did you ever think about telling me? I asked. Taylor's laugh was bitter. Oh, and destroy my friendship with Monica? She's connected to half the corporate recruiting network in Maine. Crossing her would have been career suicide. But now that her reputation is in ruins, you're willing to betray her confidence. I'm trying to minimize the damage, Taylor snapped. Monica made a mistake, but she doesn't deserve to lose everything. Her job, her family, her entire life. It's all falling apart because you couldn't handle this like an adult. The recording app was getting gold. Taylor was admitting that she'd known about the affair for months, that she'd prioritized her career over basic decency, and that she viewed Monica as a networking opportunity rather than a genuine friend. What do you want from me, Taylor? Call off the dogs, contact Monica's family, tell them you were angry and exaggerated what happened. Say it was a one-time mistake, not an ongoing affair. Give Monica a chance to rebuild her relationships. I pretended to consider her proposal. And in exchange? Monica will agree to a quiet divorce. No fighting over assets, no public drama. You both move on with your lives. What about Silas? Taylor's expression hardened. What about him? Is he part of this reconciliation plan? Does he get to keep his job, his reputation, his comfortable life while Monica takes all the blame? Silas isn't my concern. But he should be Monica's concern, shouldn't he? After all, she risked her marriage for him. Surely he's supporting her through this difficult time. Taylor's silence was answer enough. Let me guess, I continued. Silas is distancing himself from the scandal, probably claiming Monica seduced him, that he was the innocent victim of a predatory married woman. He's protecting his own career while she burns. You don't know what you're talking about. I know exactly what I'm talking about, Taylor. I also know that you're not here to help Monica. You're here to protect yourself. If Monica's career implodes, you lose a valuable connection. If the scandal gets bigger, it might splash back on you. Taylor's mask finally slipped. Fine. Yes, I'm worried about my own reputation. Monica was my reference for 3 job applications I have pending. If she gets fired or blacklisted, it reflects poorly on me. Happy now? Ecstatic, I said, standing up from the booth. Give Monica a message for me. Tell her that her boring, predictable husband is just getting started. The next morning, I sent a carefully crafted email to Pinnacle Recruiting's Human Resources Department. The subject line read, Workplace Conduct Violation, Remote Work Policy Breach. The email was professional, factual, and devastating. Dear HR team, I am writing to report a violation of your company's remote work and workplace conduct policies. My wife, Monica Thorne, and her colleague, Silas Reeve, have been using my home office for personal activities that violate professional boundaries and potentially expose your company to liability issues. I have video evidence of both employees using company time and resources for personal relationships while claiming to be working on client matters. The attached footage shows clear violations of professional conduct that could damage Pinnacle Recruiting's reputation if this behavior becomes public knowledge. I am not seeking any personal compensation or legal action at this time. However, I believe your company should be aware of how some employees are representing your brand during remote work arrangements. Sincerely, Julian Vane. I attached an edited version of the security footage. Nothing explicit, but clear evidence of Monica and Silas in a compromising situation during what should have been work hours. Mark had helped me research Pinnacle Recruiting's employee handbook, which had strict policies about workplace relationships and professional conduct. The company prided itself on maintaining high ethical standards, particularly when dealing with sensitive client information and corporate placements. By 10 a.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Vane? This is Jennifer Walsh, Director of Human Resources at Pinnacle Recruiting. I received your email this morning, and I'd like to discuss this matter with you directly. Of course, I replied. I'm available at your convenience. Would you be able to come to our office this afternoon? I'd prefer to handle this conversation in person. I'll be there at 2 p.m. Pinnacle Recruiting occupied 3 floors of a glass office building in downtown Portland. The lobby was all marble and chrome, designed to impress clients with the company's success and professionalism. Jennifer Walsh met me at the reception desk, a woman in her 50s with silver hair and the no-nonsense demeanor of someone who'd spent decades cleaning up other people's messes. Mr. Vane, thank you for coming in. I've reviewed the materials you sent, and I have some questions. She led me to a conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. The view was impressive, but Jennifer's expression was all business. First, I want to confirm that the individuals in this footage are Monica Thorne and Silas Reeve, both employees of this company. That's correct. And this was recorded in your home office during what they claimed were work hours? Yes. Both Monica and Silas were supposedly working on client projects during the time this was recorded. Monica had told me she was staying late at the office, while the timestamp shows this was happening at our house. Jennifer made notes on a legal pad. Are you aware that recording people without their consent might raise legal issues? The cameras are in my own home, clearly visible and installed for security purposes. Maine is a one-party consent state for recordings, and as the homeowner, I have the right to monitor my own property. She nodded. Have you shared this footage with anyone else besides our HR department? I thought about Monica's family group chat. I've shared evidence of my wife's infidelity with relevant parties, but I haven't posted anything publicly or sent it to media outlets. What outcome are you hoping for from this report? I want your company to be aware that 2 of your employees have been lying about their work activities and using company time for personal relationships. How you handle that information is your decision. Jennifer closed her notepad. Mr. Vane, I appreciate you bringing this to our attention. Pinnacle Recruiting takes workplace conduct very seriously and will be conducting a full investigation. Both Ms. Thorne and Mr. Reeve will be placed on administrative leave pending the outcome of that investigation. What does that mean for their employment? I can't discuss specific personnel actions, but I can tell you that violations of our workplace conduct policy can result in termination, particularly when they involve dishonesty about work activities. As I left the Pinnacle recruiting building, my phone buzzed with a text from Monica. "What did you do? They just suspended me and Silas. This is insane." I didn't respond. That evening, Danny, Mark, and I met at a different bar, O'Malley's Pub, a working-class place where tech workers mixed with construction crews, and nobody cared about your relationship drama. We claimed a high-top table near the dartboard and ordered a round of local IPAs. "So Pinnacle suspended both of them?" Danny asked, raising her glass in a mock toast. "Administrative leave pending investigation," I confirmed, which in corporate speak usually means, "We're building a case to fire you without getting sued." Mark pulled out his laptop and connected to the bar's Wi-Fi. "I've been monitoring their social media accounts. Monica's been radio silent since yesterday, but Silas is starting to panic." He turned the screen toward us. Silas's LinkedIn profile showed recent activity. He'd posted a professional update about taking some time to focus on new opportunities, and had been frantically networking with contacts at other recruiting firms. "He's trying to line up a new job before Pinnacle officially fires him," I observed. "Gets better," Mark said, scrolling to Silas's Facebook page. "Check out what he posted 2 hours ago." The post was a carefully worded statement about personal challenges and learning from mistakes, but the comments section was brutal. Someone had clearly leaked details about the scandal, and Silas's friends and colleagues were asking pointed questions about his professional conduct and workplace relationships. "Who's spreading the gossip?" I asked. Danny grinned. "Taylor, ironically. She's been doing damage control, but every time she tries to defend Monica, she accidentally reveals more details about the affair. It's like watching someone try to put out a fire with gasoline." My phone buzzed. Monica was calling. "Don't answer it," Danny advised. "Actually, I think I will. Mark, is that recording app still active?" "Always." I accepted the call and put it on speaker, keeping the volume low enough that only our table could hear. "Julian, we need to talk." Monica's voice was strained, desperate. "This has gone too far." "Has it? I thought you enjoyed taking risks, being unpredictable. Isn't that what you found exciting about your affair?" "That's not... Look, I made a mistake. I hurt you and I'm sorry. But destroying my career isn't going to fix our marriage." "Our marriage?" I laughed, loud enough to draw looks from nearby tables. "Monica, our marriage ended the moment you decided to use our home office as your personal brothel." "Don't call it that. What would you prefer? Your workspace? Your romantic getaway? Your place to mock your boring, predictable husband while you slept with your colleague on the couch we picked out together?" Silence. "Julian, please. My family won't talk to me. I'm probably going to lose my job. Silas is acting like he barely knows me. I have nothing left." "You have exactly what you chose," I replied. "Freedom from your boring marriage, independence from your judgmental family, and the exciting uncertainty you were craving. I never wanted this. You wanted excitement. You wanted passion. You wanted a man who wasn't predictable and boring. Congratulations, Monica. You got everything you asked for." I hung up and turned off the phone. Danny stared at me with something approaching awe. "Jesus, Julian, that was ice cold." "She made her choices," I said, finishing my beer, "and now she gets to live with the consequences." The Portland Tech Festival was an annual event that brought together hundreds of professionals from across Maine's growing technology sector. Companies set up booths, speakers gave presentations about emerging trends, and networking sessions filled the spaces between formal events. It was the kind of gathering where careers were made, deals were struck, and reputations were built or destroyed. Monica had mentioned the festival months ago, back when she was still pretending to be a devoted wife. Pinnacle Recruiting was a major sponsor, and she'd been planning to work their booth, connecting with potential clients and showcasing her placement successes. Now, 3 days after her suspension, Monica was attending as a spectator, probably hoping to network her way into a new position before her current job officially ended. I'd registered for the festival weeks earlier, planning to represent quantum security solutions at a cybersecurity panel. But now I had a different agenda. The festival was held at the Portland Expo Center, a sprawling venue with multiple halls connected by wide corridors lined with vendor booths. The main stage hosted keynote speakers, while smaller breakout rooms featured specialized sessions. Large screens throughout the facility displayed the event schedule, sponsor logos, and social media feeds from attendees. I spotted Monica near the Pinnacle recruiting booth, which was being staffed by her former colleagues. She looked polished and professional in a navy blue dress and heels, but I could see the strain in her posture, the way she held herself slightly apart from the crowd. Silas was nowhere to be seen. "She looks like she's trying too hard," Danny observed. She and Mark had registered as my guests, ostensibly to help with our company's presence at the event. Desperation has a particular smell, Mark added, like expensive perfume mixed with flop sweat. We watched as Monica approached various groups of professionals, introducing herself with a kind of aggressive friendliness that made people take a step backward. She was networking like her life depended on it, which in many ways it did. Phase 1, I said, pulling out my phone. Mark had spent the previous evening hacking into the festival's digital display system. Nothing illegal. He'd simply identified vulnerabilities in their Wi-Fi network and social media integration. The screens throughout the venue were set to display real-time posts from attendees using the official festival hashtag. I composed a carefully crafted post. Great to see so many professionals maintaining high ethical standards at the Shire Portland Tech Fest. Integrity in the workplace matters more than ever. Workplace ethics, Shire professional conduct. Within minutes, the post appeared on screens throughout the venue. Innocuous enough, but I'd timed it perfectly. Monica was standing directly beneath one of the main displays when the message appeared, and several people in the crowd began looking between the screen and her with obvious recognition. The gossip network at professional events was faster than any social media algorithm. Within 30 minutes, I could see clusters of people whispering while glancing in Monica's direction. Someone had clearly connected the dots between my post about workplace ethics and the rumors surrounding Monica's suspension. Phase 2, I said. Mark pulled out his laptop and connected to the festival's guest Wi-Fi. The social media feed is pulling from multiple hashtags. If someone were to post something more specific, it would show up automatically. Someone should definitely not do that, Danny said with mock seriousness. That would be terrible. I created a throwaway social media account and crafted another post. PSA: when your recruiting firm puts you on administrative leave, maybe don't show up at industry events pretending everything is normal. Portland Tech Fest. Chuck recruiting industry. Chuck professional consequences. This post was more direct, and the reaction was immediate. Monica's face went pale as she saw her situation being broadcast to hundreds of her professional peers. She began looking around frantically, trying to identify who was targeting her. Our eyes met across the crowded expo hall. Monica started walking toward me, her heels clicking against the polished concrete floor with sharp, angry staccato beats. Her professional mask was slipping, revealing the fury underneath. "Julian," she said, her voice low and dangerous. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" "Attending a professional development event," I replied calmly. "Same as you, though I have to say I'm surprised to see you here. Don't most companies prefer their employees to avoid public events during internal investigations?" "You're destroying my career." "I'm not doing anything. I'm simply existing in the same professional community where you chose to have an affair with a colleague. If that's destroying your career, maybe the problem isn't with me." Monica stepped closer, close enough that I could smell that expensive perfume she'd started wearing for Silas. "You think you're so clever, don't you? Playing your little games, posting your cryptic messages. You're pathetic." "I'm pathetic?" I laughed, loud enough to draw attention from nearby professionals. "Monica, you're at a networking event trying to find a new job because you got suspended for sleeping with your coworker in my home office, and I'm the pathetic one." Several people had stopped their conversations to listen. Monica realized we were becoming a spectacle and tried to lower her voice. "Stop it. People are watching." "Let them watch," I said, my voice carrying clearly across the space. "Let them see what happens when someone throws away a 4-year marriage for a few months of excitement with a colleague who won't even return her calls now that the scandal has gone public." Monica's composure finally cracked. "You snake! You think you've won? You think destroying my reputation makes you the good guy in this story?" "I think I'm the guy who was faithful to his marriage vows while his wife was using our home as a hotel for her affair. Everything else is just consequences." The crowd around us had grown larger. People were holding up phones, recording the confrontation. Monica realized she was being filmed and tried to compose herself, but the damage was done. "This isn't over," she whispered. "Yes, it is," I replied. "Your marriage is over. Your job is over. Your family relationships are over. Your affair is over. The only thing left is figuring out how to rebuild your life without all the things you threw away for a few months of excitement." Monica turned and walked quickly toward the exit, her heels clicking even faster than before. The crowd began to disperse, but I could hear fragments of conversation. Suspended for an affair? Used her husband's house? Posted it to her family. My phone buzzed with notifications. The confrontation was already being shared on social media, tagged with the festival hashtags. Monica's public humiliation was complete. 2 weeks after the tech festival, Monica's situation had deteriorated beyond repair. Pinnacle Recruiting had officially terminated both her and Silas for violations of workplace conduct and dishonesty about work activities. The story had spread throughout Maine's tight-knit professional community, making both of them essentially unemployable in their field. Silas had managed to land a position with a small firm in Boston, but it was a significant step down from his previous role. More importantly, he'd completely cut contact with Monica, refusing to answer her calls and blocking her on social media. The great love affair that had cost her everything had evaporated the moment it became inconvenient for him. Monica had been forced to move into a studio apartment in a rundown complex on the outskirts of Portland. Her family was still refusing to speak to her, and most of her friends had distanced themselves from the scandal. Taylor, her former best friend and enabler, had publicly criticized Monica's poor judgment in a LinkedIn post about maintaining professional standards. I was sitting in my home office, the same room where I'd discovered the affair, when my phone rang. Monica's number. "Julian," she said when I answered. "I want to make a deal." "I'm listening." "Meet me tonight. Neutral ground. I have information you need to know about what really happened, about what Silas and I were planning. Things that will change how you see this whole situation." "What kind of information?" "Not over the phone. Meet me at the Riverside Motel on Route 202 at 9 o'clock. Room 117. Come alone." The line went silent. I stared at the phone for a long moment, then called Mark and Danny. "It's obviously a trap," Danny said immediately when I explained the call. "She's desperate, cornered, and probably planning something stupid." "Agreed," Mark added. "But what kind of trap?" "Monica's not exactly known for physical confrontation, and she doesn't have the technical skills to set up any kind of digital ambush." "Maybe she's planning to record me saying something incriminating," I suggested. "Get me to admit to harassment or stalking, something she could use in a divorce proceeding." "Or maybe she really does have information," Danny said thoughtfully. "Something about Silas or about the affair that she thinks will change your perspective." I considered my options. "Mark, can you set up remote monitoring on my phone? Something that will record everything and automatically upload it to a secure server?" "Better than that," Mark replied. "I can set up a live stream that Danny and I can monitor in real time. If something goes wrong, we'll know immediately." "And I can be parked outside the motel," Danny added. "Close enough to intervene if necessary, but far enough away to avoid being spotted." The Riverside Motel was exactly as depressing as its name suggested. A single-story strip of rooms with peeling paint, and a neon sign that flickered between vacancy and va-ancy. The kind of place where people went to disappear for a few hours or a few days. Room 117 was at the far end of the building, away from the main road and the motel office. I knocked on the door at exactly 9 o'clock. Monica opened it immediately, as if she'd been waiting by the door. She looked terrible. Exhausted, thin, with dark circles under her eyes that makeup couldn't hide. She was wearing jeans and a wrinkled sweater, a far cry from her usual polished professional appearance. "Thank you for coming," she said, stepping aside to let me enter. The room was small and shabby, with a double bed, a small table, and 2 chairs. The air smelled of disinfectant and despair. Monica had spread papers across the table, documents, printouts, what looked like financial records. "What's all this?" I asked. "Proof," Monica said. "Proof that this whole situation is more complicated than you think." She gestured for me to sit in one of the chairs while she remained standing, pacing back and forth in the small space. "Julian, the affair with Silas wasn't just about closeness or excitement. It was part of a bigger plan." "What kind of plan?" Monica picked up one of the documents from the table. "Silas and I weren't just having an affair. We were planning to start our own recruiting firm. We'd been stealing client lists from Pinnacle, copying confidential contracts, building a database of contacts we could use to compete against our former employer." I examined the papers she'd laid out. They appeared to be client files, contract summaries, and financial projections for a business called Elite Talent Solutions. "You were planning to commit corporate espionage?" I said. "We were planning to be entrepreneurs," Monica corrected. "Every successful business is built on connections and inside knowledge. We were just leveraging our experience." "And where do I fit into this plan?" Monica stopped pacing and looked directly at me. "You were supposed to be our technical consultant. Your cybersecurity expertise would have been invaluable for protecting client data and maintaining secure communications." I stared at her in disbelief. "You were having an affair with your business partner and planning to recruit me as your IT support? Did you think I was completely stupid?" "We were going to tell you about the business opportunity after we'd secured initial funding. The affair..." Monica waved her hand dismissively. "That was just physical. It didn't mean anything compared to the financial opportunity we were creating." So your plan was to steal from your employer, start a competing business, and convince your husband to help you commit corporate crimes? And you thought this was a good idea? Monica's composure began to crack. It would have worked if you hadn't installed those cameras. We had everything planned out: client relationships, financial backing, even office space. Silas had connections with investors who were ready to fund the startup. What happened to those plans after the scandal broke? Silas panicked, Monica said bitterly. The moment our affair became public, he abandoned everything. The business plan, the stolen client data, me, all of it. He took a job in Boston and left me to deal with the consequences alone. And now you want what from me? Monica sat down in the chair across from me, leaning forward intensely. I want you to help me destroy him. Silas used me, manipulated me into stealing from Pinnacle, and then abandoned me when things got complicated. He deserves to pay for what he's done. What exactly are you proposing? We expose his role in the corporate espionage. These documents prove he was the mastermind behind the plan to steal client data. His new employers in Boston would fire him immediately if they knew he was a corporate thief. I looked at the papers scattered across the table, then back at Monica's desperate face. You want me to help you frame Silas for crimes you committed together? I want justice, Monica said. He's the one who convinced me to steal the data. He's the one who said the affair was necessary to maintain our cover story. He used me and then threw me away the moment it became inconvenient. Monica, I said slowly, do you hear yourself? You're sitting in a cheap motel room, asking your betrayed husband to help you commit more crimes against the man you were cheating with. Does any part of this seem reasonable to you? What's reasonable? Monica snapped. Is it reasonable that my entire life is destroyed while Silas gets a fresh start in Boston? Is it reasonable that I'm living in a studio apartment eating ramen noodles while he's probably taking his new colleagues out for expensive dinners? It's reasonable that actions have consequences, I replied. You chose to have an affair. You chose to steal from your employer. You chose to risk everything for a few months of excitement and a half-baked business plan. Now you're living with the results of those choices. Monica stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the worn carpet. I should have known you'd be useless. You're the same boring, predictable man I married. No vision, no ambition, no willingness to take risks. You're right, I said, standing as well. I am predictable. Predictably loyal, predictably honest, and predictably unwilling to help my cheating ex-wife commit more crimes. Ex-wife? Monica's voice rose. We're not divorced yet, Julian. We're still married, which means you still have obligations to me. My only obligation is to make sure our divorce is finalized as quickly as possible, I replied. Everything else, your career, your family relationships, your financial situation, is your responsibility now. Monica's mask finally fell away completely. You think you've won, don't you? You think destroying my life makes you the hero of this story? I think I'm a man who discovered his wife was cheating on him and responded by telling the truth about what I found. Everything that happened after that was a result of your choices, not mine. The truth? Monica laughed bitterly. You want to know the truth? I never loved you, Julian. Not really. You were safe, stable, boring. Everything my parents wanted in a son-in-law. But you were never exciting, never passionate, never the kind of man who could give me the life I actually wanted. Then why did you marry me? Because I thought I could change you. I thought marriage would make you more ambitious, more interesting. Instead, you just became more comfortable with being ordinary. I felt a strange sense of relief hearing her finally tell the truth. Thank you for that honesty. It makes the divorce much easier. Monica realized she'd gone too far. Julian, wait. I didn't mean... Yes, you did, I interrupted. You meant every word, and I'm glad you finally said it out loud. I walked toward the door, then paused and turned back to face her. Monica, you're going to spend the rest of your life wondering what would have happened if you'd made different choices. If you'd been honest with me about your unhappiness, if you'd ended our marriage before starting an affair, if you had built a business legally instead of through theft and deception. That wondering, that regret, that knowledge that you destroyed everything good in your life for a few months of excitement, that's your real punishment. I left her sitting in that shabby motel room, surrounded by the evidence of her crimes and the ruins of her ambitions. 3 days after the motel confrontation, I received a call from Detective Sarah Frayne of the Portland Police Department's Financial Crimes Unit. Mr. Vane, we've received some information about potential corporate espionage involving your estranged wife and her former colleague. Would you be available to discuss what you know about their activities? It turned out that Monica, in her desperation to drag Silas down with her, had sent copies of the stolen client data to Pinnacle Recruiting's legal department, claiming she was a whistleblower exposing Silas's criminal activities. Unfortunately for Monica, The documents clearly showed her own handwriting, her own computer access logs, and her own participation in the theft. Pinnacle had forwarded the evidence to law enforcement, and both Monica and Silas were now under investigation for corporate espionage, theft of trade secrets, and conspiracy to commit fraud. "We understand this is a difficult situation," Detective Frayne said when I met with her at the police station. "Your wife's attorney has suggested that she was coerced into participating in the theft by Mr. Reeve, but the evidence suggests they were equal partners in the scheme." "What kind of evidence?" "Email communications, financial records, business planning documents. All of it shows a joint effort to steal proprietary information and use it to start a competing business. There's also evidence that they were planning to recruit other Pinnacle employees to join their venture, which would constitute additional charges. I provided Detective Frayne with copies of the security footage from my home office, which showed Monica and Silas discussing their business plans during their affair. The audio was clear enough to demonstrate that Monica was an enthusiastic participant, not a coerced victim. "This footage is extremely helpful," Detective Frayne said after reviewing it. "It shows both subjects discussing the theft of client data and their plans to use that information illegally. Combined with the documentary evidence, we have a strong case against both of them." 2 weeks later, Monica and Silas were arrested on multiple felony charges. The local news covered the story, describing it as a case of corporate Romeo and Juliet, where an illicit affair had led to criminal conspiracy. Monica's mugshot showed a woman who looked nothing like the polished professional she'd once been. The legal proceedings moved quickly. Faced with overwhelming evidence, both Monica and Silas agreed to plea bargains that included restitution to Pinnacle recruiting, community service, and probation. They were also required to surrender any stolen data and agree to lifetime bans from working in the recruiting industry. Monica's family, who had been slowly warming to the idea of reconciliation, cut off contact completely when the criminal charges became public. Her parents released a statement through their church saying they were praying for their daughter's redemption, but could not condone criminal behavior. Silas lost his job in Boston before his first day when his new employer learned about the charges. His LinkedIn profile disappeared, and according to Mark's research, he'd moved back in with his parents in suburban Massachusetts. The divorce proceedings were straightforward. Monica, facing criminal charges and with no income, couldn't afford to contest the terms I offered. She received a small settlement that covered her immediate living expenses, while I kept the house, our savings, and my retirement accounts. The entire process was finalized within 3 months. On the day our divorce became official, I was sitting in my home office, the same room where this whole story had begun. The security cameras were still active, but now they only showed me, working alone in the space Monica and Silas had once contaminated with their betrayal. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "I hope you're happy. You destroyed my entire life for revenge." I deleted the message without responding. Danny knocked on my office door. "Hey, the new client contracts are ready for review. Also, Mark and I were thinking about grabbing dinner at that new place downtown. You interested?" "Absolutely," I said, saving my work and closing the laptop. "I'm done here." As we left the house, I set the security system and locked the door behind us. The cameras would keep recording, the alarms would stay active, and the house would remain protected. But for the first time in months, I wasn't worried about what I might discover when I reviewed the footage. Some security breaches, once identified and resolved, never happen again. Monica had wanted excitement, passion, and unpredictability. She'd gotten all three, along with criminal charges, social ostracism, and the complete destruction of everything she'd once valued. Silas had wanted easy money and consequence-free adultery. He'd ended up with legal bills, unemployment, and a reputation that followed him wherever he tried to rebuild his life. I'd wanted a faithful wife and an honest marriage. When I discovered I didn't have either, I'd simply told the truth about what I'd found. Everything that happened after that was the natural result of other people's choices, not my actions. Justice, I realized, wasn't about revenge or punishment. It was about consequences finally catching up with the people who thought they were too smart, too attractive, or too entitled to face them. Monica and Silas had gambled everything on the belief that they could lie, cheat, and steal without paying a price. They'd lost that bet completely, and the house always wins in the end. As for me, I was free, financially secure, and surrounded by friends who'd proven their loyalty when it mattered most. I had my career, my home, and my self-respect intact. Most importantly, I had the satisfaction of knowing that the woman who'd called me boring and predictable had learned exactly how exciting life could become when you made the wrong choices with the wrong person at the wrong time. Security breach resolved. Future canceled. No need for a backup.